All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're unpacking an absolute masterclass in strategy, composure, and the sheer power of having your documentation in order. We are diving into the incredible true story of Wendy. She's an ER nurse of 11 years who used cold, hard facts to completely dismantle a massive orchestrated family betrayal. It's a fascinating look at how one woman navigated profound grief and a truly shocking ambush, not by yelling back, but just by letting the evidence do the heavy lifting.
So picture this. It's a scene straight out of a movie. Just 3 weeks after Wendy buried her husband Daniel, who was this meticulous 41-year-old accountant who died suddenly of a heart attack, she is at her nephew Mason's first birthday party. Right there, over a cake with a single candle, Wendy's younger sister Cassandra clinks a fork against her glass. She stands up and announces to the entire room that baby Mason is actually Daniel's son. No joke. And to top the whole thing off, she waves this folded piece of paper around, claiming it's Daniel's will, and flat out demands half of Wendy's house.
So we have to ask ourselves this core question. How do you fight a family that has already made up its mind? Cassandra had spent months crafting this narrative. She was deeply in debt, newly divorced, and really preying on the family's pity. And the entire room immediately looks to Wendy, expecting a total breakdown. But they fundamentally miscalculated who they were dealing with here. Wendy is an ER nurse. When things fall apart, it's literally her job to be the calmest person in the room. This explainer is really the ultimate contrast between a loud, emotionally manipulative family and Wendy's quiet, methodical training.
Okay, let's dive into this and look at the massive stakes on the table. The prize Cassandra is after here is a fully paid off 1920s house on Line Street, valued at $800,000. But to Wendy, it wasn't just a number, right? It was 6 years of sweat equity, stripping wallpaper, sanding floors, and building a life with Daniel. Cassandra is banking on a quick, emotional surrender so she can just walk away with 400 grand. But she didn't realize that Daniel, being the careful accountant he was, had actually seen this coming long before anyone else. Section 1. The Dead Man's Defense. A careful accountant plans ahead.
So, rewind just a bit. At Daniel's wake, his lawyer, Greg Howren, had pressed a mysterious, plain white envelope into Wendy's hand. Fast forward 3 weeks, she's sitting in her car after that disastrous birthday ambush, hands perfectly steady on the steering wheel, and she finally tears it open. Inside is a single index card with Daniel's need handwriting. It says, "If anyone ever fights you for this house, don't argue with them. Go to Greg. He has everything you'll need." This posthumous message was an absolute game changer. It gave Wendy the ultimate anchor to stay quiet, be methodical, and trust the plan her husband had silently built around her.
Section 2. Anatomy of a Forgery. Reading the chart on a fake will.
A few days later, Cassandra comes up to Wendy's porch, acting like a peacemaker, handing her this supposedly newly discovered will to sign. But Wendy just takes the folder inside and treats it exactly like a patient's medical chart. I love this part because it brilliantly illustrates the two drastically different battle strategies at play here. Cassandra is fighting with noise, weepy social media posts, dramatic public scenes. Wendy? She relies entirely on quiet. She applies her laser focus to gather factual documentation, absolutely refusing to fight noise with more noise. Wendy methodically breaks down the chart, and man, the factual errors she discovers are staggering. First off, the fake will names First Heritage Bank for an escrow account. Well, Wendy and Daniel closed that account 4 years ago. Second, it lists Daniel's address as Unit 4B, but they've lived in a single-family house with no apartment number for 6 years. And the smoking gun? The witness signature reads T-Boone. That's Travis, Cassandra's ex-husband. Wendy notes all of this down, keeping her hands perfectly steady. All right, Section 3. The Ticking Clock. Cream-colored envelope. Meanwhile, the family ramps up this intense emotional pressure campaign. Her mother is leading the charge, constantly calling and texting, just begging Wendy to settle. Her repeating refrain is, "Just give her something, Wendy, for the baby." It's an incredibly manipulative trap, right? They're framing Wendy's adherence to the truth as an attack on an innocent kid. But Wendy, leaning hard on that ER training, knows that you don't cure a patient by pretending their chart says something it doesn't. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is what was actually waiting for her at the lawyer's office. Wendy visits Greg, who opens a file Daniel had prepared a year prior. Greg hands her a sealed, cream-colored envelope from Daniel with strict instructions. Do not open until needed. Finally, on the Sunday morning of a big family dinner, she opens it. Inside, Daniel's ultimate mic drop.
Along with a note saying proof beats a story every time, he included official medical letterhead from a urology clinic documenting a vasectomy, with lab results confirming absolutely zero sperm present. To put that into perspective, let's look at the timeline. It mathematically and biologically locks out Cassandra's entire claim. Daniel had his vasectomy in spring 2022. Actually, check that. By summer 2022, the lab confirmed he was 100% sterile. Yet, baby Mason was conceived around spring 2024, 2 full years after the procedure. This is not a he said, she said argument anymore. It is an airtight, medically backed impossibility. And as if she didn't have enough ammunition, Travis, Cassandra's ex-husband, texts Wendy that exact same afternoon trying to sort of smooth things over. He actually types out the words, "I already handled the witness part on the will, so the paperwork's solid." Are you kidding me? He literally handed Wendy a freely written, time-stamped confession to felony forgery. Wendy just calmly screenshots the message and sends it straight to Greg. The trap is fully set. Section 4, the Sunday dinner showdown. Delivering the facts. So, Wendy walks into her mother's house for Sunday dinner. It's the exact same kitchen where she was ambushed 3 weeks prior, but this time she's not alone. She brings Greg the lawyer. She sits down, quietly opens her folder, and the execution is just flawless. Step 1, she lays out the real court-filed will. Step 2, she dismantles Cassandra's fake will, pointing out the closed bank, the fake apartment number, and Travis's forged signature. And finally, when Cassandra starts panicking and yelling that Mason is still Daniel's, Wendy deploys Step 3, the medical proof of Daniel's vasectomy. 3 quiet, devastating steps that completely shatter months of lies. This part is absolutely crucial. As Cassandra starts screaming and throwing a tantrum, the lawyer, Greg, calmly addresses the room, looking right at Travis. He states, "Submitting that document to a court is submitting a forged will. That's a felony." Boom. The cold legal reality completely cuts through the dramatic performance. Travis literally flees the house immediately, and the family, who had been backing Cassandra this whole time, just recoils in total shock. Which brings us to Section 5. Proof beats a story. The aftermath. The aftermath was swift and clean. Wendy agrees not to go to the police on one simple condition. Cassandra drops the claim entirely and writes a 1-sentence apology. Cassandra signs the statement Greg drafted, the forged will goes in the shredder, and Daniel's estate closes perfectly cleanly 6 weeks later. But Wendy does one more incredible thing here. She looks at the lie, extorting half a house via a forged will, and contrasts it with her own truth. Recognizing that baby Mason is completely innocent in all this, Wendy sets up a custodial college fund for him entirely with her own money. She protected her nephew, but she did it on her own clean terms, refusing to be bullied. Wendy's story is a profound reminder that grief doesn't have to make you a target, especially when you are prepared. So I leave you with this final thought to chew on. When you are faced with chaos, will you let emotional noise win, or will you let the facts do the talking? Take a page from Wendy and Daniel's book. Get your paperwork in order, stay calm, and remember that proof beats a story every single time. Thanks for hanging out with me for this explainer, and I'll catch you in the next one.